So we'll continue with talking about how attitude really matters. So we've been talking about Pune, we've been talking about Allahabad, West Bengal, Bangalore, all of it. Now, what does it have to do with our communication classes? If you ask me, may not be anything conceptual. At the same time, it's important that in communication, we do small talks. Small talks are essential. Now, what do we mean by small talks? We may think small talks are, your high buys and exchanging these pleasantries. Of course, they are. At the same time, what's also necessary for us to know is it's not always necessary for you to straight away dive into the main business or the main topic. Although we call them small talks, these small talks go a great way. They create a big difference in making our relationships a lot better. So whether it is in a class like this with you lovely boys and girls, or it is with my client one-on-one, it's always a good idea to start on a little not so formal note. So here is the tip for you for your effective communications. Remember that small talks can add a big difference to the way you speak. All right. And connecting that to the knowledge. Now, when you have the right attitude to share, to care with people, that is when you'll be able to absorb that knowledge as well. Because today, see, knowledge is not premium, unfortunately. And why I say knowledge is not premium is because if I kind of go back about 12, 15 years ago, when I started my career, for us, if someone told us something about, so I started my career with HDFC Bank, okay? So while I was at the bank, so if we would have any sessions from our bosses or some trainer would come and tell us about the industry, about how we should be good representatives at the bank, etc., etc. So we would feel, wow, this is like amazing, etc. So they would give it so much of knowledge, whether it is product, whether it's process, all of it. So knowledge downpour would be immense. Today, that downpour needn't be there because everything is available at your fingertips. You pick your phone, you just start looking for something and it's right there. Sometimes you don't even have to pick your phone. If you have, gadgets like your Alexa and Echoes and similar ones, you know what I mean? You'll just have to say, okay, tell me how's the weather in New York today? And it'll just rattle out, right? And if you were to say, okay, Alexa, I need to make a presentation. Give me 3 tips. And Alexa will give you 3 tips, right? So today, knowledge, unfortunately, is not premium. It's available everywhere. So what is more premium? What is the new currency then, if not knowledge? Knowledge is a fundamental. You can't take away that. What I'm saying is, apart from knowledge, that is in addition to the knowledge that you have, it's important to have great skills. It's important to practice what you know. It's important to have a great attitude, right? Because knowledge alone will not help you sustain. There's a research that is done by, a very reputed surveying organization. This is called McKinsey. For some of you who are interested to know more about surveying companies, there are a lot of companies like KPMG, like Deloitte, like the Boston Consulting Group, the Harvard Business guys, Genesis and McKinsey. So these are people who do a lot of research. They do a lot of survey. And one of the researches done by McKinsey states that out of the more than 2.5 lakh, there's 25 lakhs people that are getting post-graduated every year. Now, this study is as of 2019, I guess. I'm not really sure, but at least a couple of years ago. But then the value of this survey still holds good. And the reason, there is a reason why I'm telling this to you. And I'll tell you the reason in a moment. The research shows that out of so many millions of people who graduate every year, and a lot more millions who postgraduate every year out of any stream, be it MBA, be it MSc, be it any postgraduate course. The fact is only about 25% of them are employable. So what happens to the other 75%? Are they not employable? Well, they will find their way somewhere. But the point is, they do not really come into the best of employment opportunities. Okay. And that is why skills are essential. Having the knowledge, I may be technically brilliant. I may have so many concepts. I may have read, hazard books on management, business cultures, HR, etc. But then if I do not develop from within, that really essence doesn't come out. And that's the reason why we need to keep going back to understanding why communicating effectively is essential. We need to know how to express what we have in our heads. Being technically brilliant, yes, it may get us a job at the entry level, etc. So we may pass through the technical rounds of interview, but when it comes to behavioral interviewing, which will happen with every candidate today, as a matter of employment, it's essential that we are more warm. And that's exactly why these small talks make a big difference. These go beyond a little knowledge of just the bookish aspects of it, okay? Therefore, going forward, also learn to break the ice when you guys communicate with whoever it is. And I'll give you some tips towards the end of the course on how you can do this a lot with also your faculty members or your seniors, etc. Okay, so I see there are 3 people who raised their hands. Let me just see what this is all about. Okay, Shrey, Saurav, Soma Yadav. So I believe that you are in cognizance of what I'm saying. You are in agreement of what I'm saying, and that's really brilliant to know. Okay, let me see if there are any comments. There are something that's popping up. I'll keep reading them out to you. Okay, Shreya, you're from Chhattisgarh. Nice. Cloudy Panandya. Yeah, Sanjoti, that's right. Okay, something very interesting that Sanjoti says is, ask Alexa, who are you? And she literally sings a Bollywood type melodious introduction. That's interesting. I'm going to do that today. Thank you for that. All right, so going back to attitude, knowledge, it's important to develop skills, and that's exactly why you and I are here. And then the more we practice this skill, we get to the desired state of the result. All right, and that's exactly what we are going to do. And with that lovely chit chatter, let me open up my screen for you guys and talk about what? Talk about our communication that we spoke. We spoke about the 7 C's in the previous session, and I will be taking you through the balance of the 7 C's that we spoke about. The other day we spoke only about the first one, which was clarity, isn't it? So we'll take a look at the other today as far as we can go. There's no hurry. The idea is not to finish all the 7 in 1 session or 2 sessions or 3 sessions. The idea is to give you a flavor of what it really means. Okay, so that's exactly what we are going to do. So anyone who remembers some of the barriers, any 2-3 barriers that you guys remember, just put it in the chat box. Let's see how much we remember from our previous classes. Physical barrier, language barriers, absolutely. So physical barrier, if you remember, Abhijit said, just look out for a quieter place in case you want to change the physical place where you are going to a quieter place. In case there's somebody else talking in the background and you are in control of that space, either you can ask them to become quieter, or you could step out to a better zone where everybody is able to hear you. Okay, sure. Language barrier. Thank you, Somu. Thank you, Shrutika. Thank you, Akash. Yes. All right. Sanchita. Okay, she has all of them. Physical, psychological, language, attitude, and perception. Absolutely. Noise barrier, indeed, Somo. That happens to be a physical barrier. Physical barrier, psychological. Rida, thank you so much. Sumit Yadav, physical, time and distance. Indeed. That's right, Sumit. There are psychological barriers as well. That's right. Ashmita, yes, thank you for putting in all of them there. Thank you. And Shreyas. All right, great. So thank you for those responses. We dive straight into seeing how we can eliminate these barriers. And that was why we spoke about the 7 C's. 7 C's help us to overcome these barriers, right? So what do these 7 C's do? They help us to make our communication be more effective than it already is. To take a look at all of these, let me bring up the slides to you, where you will see all the 7 C's that we spoke about the other day. Okay, and here they are. Once you start seeing them, please give me a raise of hand once you are able to see my screen, which should happen in a few seconds from now. Are you able to see this? Okay, great. Thank you for raising your hands. Thank you so much. Ah, lovely. Okay. So give me a moment while this comes out on the slideshow mode, and here it is. Kya ho gaya? Hang on a second. Doesn't matter. Okay. So thank you everyone for raising your hands. Here we are. And we spoke about these 7 C's. And to quickly move on to clarity, which we already did. So to just give you a little summary of how you can bring in clarity, keep it short and simple, use simple words, avoid jargons, and be clear about the purpose that you are having that communication. Now, the next one is completeness. Now, when you are creating a message, whether it is face-to-face, or it is on a telephone, or it is in an email, or even when we are conversing like this, it's important to keep in mind to share all the information that you think your recipient will need, right? So just be a little more mindful. And how can you really come here to this stage of completeness is when you start seeing from the perspective of the other person, all right? Now, for example, let me give you an idea as to how you can be the person who's empathetic towards others. How do you see a perspective of on the other side? For example, in the previous class, one of you was telling me about your B2B experience in sales, isn't it? So B2B, or the business to business experience in sales. Now, if you don't think like the client, you may never be able to be a good salesperson. Only when you think like the other person, it's easier. How do we really do this? Is through a beautiful analogy, if I can give you. For example, now I'm sitting here, okay, in Bangalore at home, and I'm seeing through this lens, camera lens, but I'm not really able to see you guys, isn't it? And what I see actually is I've opened the door where I'm sitting, and through my balcony, fortunately, the plot opposite has only trees. So it's green, and I love greenery. So it's just green a little further that I can see, and then I can see a few more houses. So that is my view. Someone else's view from wherever you're sitting, one of you may be just facing the wall. Some of you may be looking at only your computer screen. Some of you may be looking at that beautiful painting which is hung on your wall, perhaps. Or someone may be overlooking a good portrait of, your family pictures which have been put up. For someone, you may be looking at a full book of shelves. So we're looking at different things. The whole point is, remember that what you are seeing may not necessarily be exactly what the other person sees. Therefore, to make sure that you are giving all the required information to the other person, think from their perspective. So for example, I'm submitting a report or a project to my faculty member. What would this faculty expect in this project? Think from that perspective. Okay, I'm going to talk to my cousin who already has done her MBA, and she has done in the same subjects, and she was a top ranked student in the same university, for example, at ISMS. Can I speak to her and get some tips? Okay, what all do I need to speak? So the more you plan, the more you ask yourself the first question here in the previous slide. Okay, clear about the purpose. When you are clear about the purpose and you know what the content is, the completeness somewhere will automatically build in. In case it doesn't build, think from that perspective that what else information could be important for this particular person. Okay. Give me a little second to check if there are. Okay. All right. Pratyasha Sahu says yes, ma'am. Okay. All right. Great. Okay. Let's move on. We move on to the third C, which is the conciseness. Now, how do you bring in conciseness? Conciseness, in other word, is brief, brevity. Okay. So just like the KISS, keep it short and simple, that mantra that I gave you. There's another mantra, A, B, C. Keep it accurate, keep it brief, bring in brevity. C is look at bringing in clarity. Okay, that's what it is. Another way of remembering, A, B, C. Accuracy, brevity, and clarity. All right. Now, bringing in conciseness, that is shorter and shorter and shorter. So you all are, still college students, and even in your graduation or pre-university education, even in your schools, you must be remembering this activity where you're given a long passage, and then you need to read it and rewrite it in a more shorter form, pressy writing. Okay, if you bring back those fundamentals that we learned in school and college, you are halfway here. There's no rocket science to this. So here, remember that something that you can say in 5 words, you don't need 10 words to say it. Okay. And next week on Friday, I'll give you some very interesting exercises to do this. I won't send you, long passages, but still in a very interesting way, we'll do that. I'll be happy to take that for you. Right. So when communicating messages, keep your messages short and simple, which is the KISS formula, KISS. Keep it short and simple. If you like, okay, and no pun intended, very seriously, if you like the KISS to be longer, okay, you can add more S's to it. You can keep your message short, simple, sweet, courteous. I know the courteous starts with C, but ends with an S. Okay. All right. And add another S to it, smile. So the KISS can be really long with all these S elements, short, simple, courteous, smiley, etc. Okay. And sweet, be kind. All these things never go out of fashion, whether we were in 2010 or whether we are in 2021 today, or even if we take a leap into 2025 or 2030, politeness and kindness will never go out of style. And, like I started telling you that we need to see the brighter side of things. That's what I told you a little while ago when I started the class today. And when you start looking at the brighter side of things, I think one of the situations that the corona and the COVID has created for us is that we have learned to become more empathic. We have learned to become more kind. We have learned to become more understanding and compassionate towards others. We today are in a phase where we like to be generous towards doctors and nurses and all the healthcare workers. So somewhere situations play their role. We hope that this situation kind of wipes off, but then we should not forget the lessons it is teaching us. Okay, so keep your messages polite, courteous as well. Keep them respectful. Okay. Now, how do you really make it concise? Is focus on what you say. Avoid confusion. Now that I spoke about corona, I spoke about kindness, I spoke about compassion. Some of you may have taken the message out of it, but I did that deliberately because my focus here is to make things concise. And I'm telling you, keep it short, simple, courteous, bring in the smile, be sweet, etc., etc. So I made the KISS long. At the same time, I gave you examples from the scenario we all are dealing with. Some of them may take away some learning from it. Some others may get confused. To avoid that confusion, you may want to tell them why your message was long, just like I did it now. All right. So to avoid confusion, the best way is to focus on the key points. So this deliberate act that I did just now, I hope you get some message out of it. Okay. So going back to the mantra to keep it concise, keep it short, simple, short, sweet, courteous, and smile. Wherever it is appropriate, please smile. all right? And that's the mantra. In case, we are destined to meet each other someday, you will see that I come in a small package. I'm quite small. I'm not a dwarf, but I'm just 5'1". So that's my height. So I tell people, when you want to when you want to remember the mantra of communication, you need to think of me. Short, simple, and sweet. Okay. So how do you keep your messages effective? Okay. You can keep your messages effective just by remembering Anupama. And that Anupama is focusing on the kiss. Absolutely, Somo. Okay. Keep it short, simple, and sweet, just like I am. All right, great. Let's just move on. And going forward from conciseness, let us see how we can create concreteness in our communication. Now, concreteness means, how you be very specific about a certain aspect. Okay, if you remember the first class, second class of yours, first class with me, where one of you had written ASAP in your chats. And then I gave you an example of, this client who wanted the camera. So the whole idea is keep your words as specific as you can, rather than keeping it very generic. Okay. So to give you more examples about this is something that I told you the other day as well. Support it with facts and figures. Use words that are clear and some that build your reputation. Make it more impactful. How do you do that? Sometimes increase your vocabulary. Avoid words like maybe, I think, around, perhaps, etc. The lesser you use these words, the more concrete your message becomes. For example, Rashmi after the class says, Anupama, ma'am, how many children were present today? And I say, I think they were around 30. So around 30 is not a good number. I need to know that there were 25 participants or 26 participants. It's right there. Okay. So avoid the around and approximation. Be as specific as you can. Okay. Muskan says, ma'am, how to enhance vocabulary. Okay. Here are my 2 cents with the little experience, expertise that I have, Muskan. I will say, if you want to speak more, listen more. You want to speak to your colleagues, your fellow students, your faculty members, and some clients, maybe once you start getting ready for your interviews from your college. Until then, most of the people you'll be speaking to will be within your student fraternity. Listen to more people. Now, who should you listen to? Listen to anybody who speaks well, whether it's your college, whether it's your family. Dalai Lama, the very famous Dalai Lama, he said, and I love this quote of his where I may not get it in exact words, but I'll give you the message. And the message is that, when we speak what we already know. But when we listen, we may learn something that we do not know. So listen to people. You'll hear them telling some words. Try and, use them in your vocabulary the next time. Make a note of it wherever you like. Thanks to the digital age, sometimes what I do is, if I come across something very interesting, maybe a vocabulary, maybe idea, whatever, I just type it on my WhatsApp and send it to my husband. And I have a reference code to it. I call it RFC or whatever I want. So anytime that I want to take a look at it, I just need to go type there as search and all those messages will appear. Or you could write an email to yourself with all this. Okay. The application not responding, the program. Okay, hang on. Why is this coming up? I hope you're all able to see me, hear me. Okay, let me continue. So giving you examples of how you can increase vocabulary. Number 1, Muskan, listen to more people who speak well. 2, if you want to write well, you need to read well as well.